Hi everyone, it's Mike here. Thanks for joining me today for the launch of our brand new CD, Bygone Transport. This is the CD in its folder, and if I open it up for you, you'll see that inside you have the 10 sheets of that lovely gold milled paper which comes free with the CD. You have some samples on the inside front cover, and you also have the CD in a protective wallet there. And it's also pre-punched down the sides so that you can file this away for safekeeping. So the samples that you can see in front of me are made by our lovely DT and one or two by me too, which you'll see in the program as we go forward. So what I'll do is, just to show you exactly what you can do with this CD, I'll go ahead and I'll make a few cards for you. So I've gone ahead and printed off one of the kits from the CD, and it's one of the car kits with, we've got little backing paper inserts, we've got main backing paper, we've got a choice of sentiments as always, we've got an insert panel, and we have some paper embellishments that we can cut out or punch out to add to the card as well. So I'm going to go off and cut out all these bits, and I will be right back. So I've gone ahead and cut out all of my backing papers, my toppers, that kind of thing, but I've also cut out, you can see just here, this is the gold milled paper. Now you can see it's got like a textured, almost like a fish scale kind of pattern to it, and what I've done is I've also, that's the full A4 sheet. There you go. Hopefully that's okay under these lights. So with the CD you're getting 10 sheets, 10 A4 sheets of this gold textured paper too. So what I've gone ahead and done is I've cut out sizes of the paper which are just slightly bigger than my main toppers or my panels that I want to use on there, and I've also punched out the compass using a 1.5 circle punch, and then punched a circle out of the paper out of a 1 3/4 inch punch too, so I have a nice little mat for that. But because I didn't want to waste a full sheet, another full sheet, I cut the middle out of that one to use for the larger panel, which is for that damask kind of paper. So that's the mat for that one. Now the reason I've cut it out the middle of there is because this is going to be my main backing paper mount. I'll just push those to one side, and as you can see, once it goes over the top, you're not going to see the middle at all. So I've utilised the middle of that sheet because, you know, waste not, want not. You only get 10 sheets with the CD, so, but it is available to purchase as an extra pack or as a refill if you want to. It is on the website. But there you go. So I've now got a nice little gold border around all of my front main toppers, including the sentiment that we've gone for. So this is the happy retirement sentiment, and I've also done the same thing for that too. Now, as I usually do when I'm cutting out and making cards, I've already gone around the edges with a distress marker, and for this one I've used a combination of brushed corduroy and I've used pumice stone as well, because there are some grey elements here. I've used the brushed corduroy for the brown ones and the pumice stone for the grey ones, and the border for that kind of damask pattern there, and also for the little fishtail banner one there I've used the pumice stone for that one too. So we're just about ready, I think, for the construction of the card. Now for this one I'm going to use some craft card. He says frantically looking around to see if he can find his packs of cards, and I'm just going to use one of the packs of cards, just a 6x6 card blank from a pack that I stole from my shop. There we go. So we're going to do brown on brown. So we're going to do craft card, and then we're going to mount that onto there with that gold border, that which makes it stand out really, really nicely. So I'm just going to go grab my foam pads and my glue, and I will be right back and we'll start putting this card together. Okay, so I have a selection of different sized foam pads. I've got some little circular ones, I've got some square ones, and I'm also going to be using a permanent tape runner today as well, because I think I can get away without using any glue. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to put in my insert panel because I always forget. So I'm just going to stick that onto the inside of the card so that I can just forget about it really. Once it's done, it's done. So all I'm going to do is just place that in the middle of my card blank. And that's it. I can forget about the inside of my card now until it comes to the point where I need to write on it. So for this, I'm taking the main backing panel and I'm just going to turn it round and I'm just going to put a thin or just a quick run of the tape runner just round the outside, and then I'm going to take that gold card or the gold paper that we got with the kit or with the CD, and I'm just going to drop that over the top, making sure that I've got an equal border all the way around, like so. Give it a little rub, turn it over, and then we can stick that down onto the front of our card. Easy when you know how. But then again, none of these cards are that complicated. Okay, so I've got the backing paper here. Now I've done it so that the compass that's on the backing paper there is, to focus the camera, there we go, is actually at the bottom. So, and I'm going to just line that up on the card front, making sure before I push it down that I've got a nice equal border and everything's straight. Just need to move that back a little bit. So this is where the wet glue comes in because you can really wiggle it a bit. See, without being able to look straight down onto the top of the card, because otherwise you're going to get my head in shot, aren't you? But what the heck, let's just go ahead and do it. This is why I like to use the wet glue. But for a change, there we go. Perfect. So we now have that lovely glinting gold border, and now I have our insert already in. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pop that card base to one side, and I'm just going to bring in the 3 layers. I'm just going to layer these up together. So I'm just going to add the adhesive onto there. Again, just making sure I've got equal border all the way around. And again, it might be easier if I actually hold this up because I can gauge it better that way. There. And we just make some final adjustments before we do push it down. There we go. So that one's done, and then our main topper. I'm not a big fan of tape runners, but they do have the place. Quick and easy. And obviously they dry almost instantaneously. There we go. Lovely, and then we'll just pop on our sentiment one. Just layer that up. Equal border. Drop it down. And then we'll do the same thing for our circle. Do all our little jobs at once. And then I'm going to try and line this up so that the north is the same sort of pattern. Fishtail, well, the actual fish scales all go up, so it actually looks quite quilted, almost like it's been milled in a machine. Cool, so that's the compass there. So that's our 3 toppers, so we can start to layer those all together, make sure we get our card the right way around. Now for what I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to offset these. I'm going to place that one at the top there and this one down here. I'm going to put them at slight odd Katie corner angles so that when I place my main topper Yeah, we'll place it about there, which then leaves enough room for us to put our sentiment, or we could do that the other way around. I'm trying not to hide the top part, those stamps, but I'm afraid it's going to be unavoidable. So if I put those down like so, and then place that there, or up there, maybe about there, I can then drop the sentiment there, and then our compass can go like that. It's all experiment. Just place, move them around. You know, just do what you feel. Now that probably actually would work better, wouldn't it? That there, and then the sentiment could go there, which balances those two together. There you go. We have a winner. So let's just stick those down. I'm going to stick them down flat. I'm not going to put them down on foam pads or anything, because we're going to reserve that for our embellishments. So I'm just going to position that so we've got a nice border. Make sure it's straight. Again. And then we can place that in the corner there. Like so. And then we can raise this up on foam pads if we wish. Or we can keep that separate. Yeah, I think we'll stick that down flat. And then we'll place that. I'm just going to drop it down. I'm not going to push it right down just yet until I'm happy with the position. I think I'm happy with that position there, so give that a bit of a push. And then our retirement, we'll grab a foam pad. I'm just going to put one, quite largish one, in the middle. And that can go in that bottom corner there. And then our circular one, again, one big there. Now before I stick that down, I want to add in this little banner here. So I'm just going to add a little bit of glue just on that tip, and then I'm going to tuck it underneath there, and then we can stick that down over there like so. Cool. Now there are some other embellishments you can add. There's this nice little bolt that you could have stuck on there. I didn't want to add that on because it's silver and it kind of detracts away from the gold colour. And there are some other embellishments as well, like some little screw heads which you could use, but again they're silver. Now I wanted to use the gold all the way through, so what I've done is the punch that works with those little screw heads is a 3/8 circle punch. Let's move that into the light better. 3/8 circle punch, and I would have punched them out using that, but I have a little bit of that gold paper spare. Now I'm hoping that this will punch 3 of those quite easily. And what I can do is I've now created my own candy, if you like, and I'm going to just stick those down onto here. In fact, I might even do a third set and do 3 coming down there. A second set, sorry. I can't count today. There we go. So we've got a second set, and I think I need some small foam pads. So I'll just grab those and I'll be right back. as I didn't even know. What happened to my pricking mat, I wonder? Okay, let's just grab my Bygone tool. Okay, I have my foam pads. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of the little gold discs, I'm just place it in my hand, and I have a little bit of an embossing tool here, and all I'm going to do is just very gently just rub that around the inside, just to give it a little bit of a domed effect. Now if you have a mouse mat or a pricking mat, then you can use that. It's just as easy to use the palm of your hand, which you've always got with you. Whereas if you have a pricking mat and you don't know what you've done with it, like I have. There we go, so that's the one. A nice little domed effect on that now. So what I'll do is I will go ahead and do the other 5, and I'll be back with you when I've done that. Cut! Cut to the chase. And of course you've left your pickup tool in the garage. And that's where your pricking mat is, isn't it? You're just going to cut through this. You don't have to speed through it, just cut it. Actually, this is doming really, really well. It's not bad paper, Ian. Well done. And the last one. Okie dokie. So there's all 6 of them domed just by using that little embossing tool. So what that enables you to do is you can actually, with one of those little 3/8 circle punches, is you can pretty much make matching embellishments and little buttony kind of things on any of your cards. And you know, because you can match them with the colours, you can use the same backing papers if you've got some spare. Absolutely dead easy. So what I'm going to do then is I'm just going to place some small foam pads, and I'm going to put, should we do them going downwards? I think so. So I'm going to put one there, which is pretty much in the middle. Then I'm just going to position 3 like so. Just take the tops off. Oop. Just take the tops off as I go. And then, yeah, I've lost my pickup tool somewhere. It's probably with the pricking mat. In fact, I tell you what, I'm going to go find it. I'll be back in 2 secs. And we're back. There we go. I've got my quick stick pickup tool. It just makes it a bit easier to pick up embellishments like this when you've got sausage fingers like I have. There you go. See that? See how easy that was? Literally, it just picks up and you just drop them straight over the top. Okay, so I couldn't find my pricking mat anywhere. I've tied it up. You know what that means. It'll be lost forever. Okay, so I'm going to put another one about there. just place them equidistant, great word. Push them down, pop the tops off. I knew that was going to happen. There's always one, isn't there? Alright, both of you can come off. So, again. They're probably feeling a bit neglected. I haven't used them for quite some time, these little ones. Don't want to stick, does it? It's losing its stickiness. There we go. And then grab my little domes and just drop those over. There we go. And I think we'll call that done. So not too long once I've finished faffing around. So we've got the 3 little embellishments there, a nice beautiful gold card and a nice card for someone about to retire. On the CD you also have a collection of black and white digis. So these are in PDF format and you're getting 2 or 3 on a sheet, and there's quite a few on there as well, and they're a decent size. As you can see, this is an A4 sheet, so they're quite sizable toppers that you can use, and then you can either colour them in with pencils, or you can colour in with your Pro Markers or your Copics or your Spectrum Noirs or whatever, or if you print onto thick enough paper or thick enough card, you can maybe add watercolours to these. So these are also included on the CDs. Nice little racing car. There's some almost Heath Robinson-esque bikes, and also, you know, some beautiful vintage type cars. And that's one of the backing papers from the CD too. That shouldn't be there, but there you go. Okay, so those are the digits that you're also getting on the CD. So I thought that I would play with this one today. So I'm going to, because it's black and white, I thought I would create a rather nice black and white card to go with it. So I have my topper that I've cut out just using a trimmer, and I've left a fairly decent border all the way around. And I've just created just a standard A5 card blank out of some black cardstock. Now I've used the Midnight black cardstock that we have on our website and in our shop, and that really does stand out, but just sticking that on the front of the card isn't really going to do it for me. It's a bit too simplistic. So what I wanted to do is, first of all, I wanted to map that onto another piece of black. So we now have a topper on a black mount, but I wanted to go one step further than that too. I wanted to also mount that onto a thin white border, and then we can stick that down onto the front of our card. Now I've deliberately left some space at the bottom to add a little bit of a sentiment. I don't want to do too much with this because I think it will detract away from it, because it's a standard, well not standard, it's a classic black and white style card. So you don't want to overdo it. You know, you want to keep it as classy as possible, and it's a real nice masculine card and perfect for, you know, somebody passing the driving test, or, you know, leaving home if they're moving out, or retiring, or there's lots of different occasions where you could send a card with a car on the front. Now, providing you don't go too mad with your sentiment, you could keep that on stock for a long time and then pull that out if you need a card in a hurry. And just don't put a sentiment on it, and only put the sentiment on when you're ready to go. Or you put a generic sentiment on it, one that just says to someone special or with love. You don't have to go completely mad with it. Now, I've printed some more of the kits off. Now, on one of the kits at the bottom, there is a really nice fishtail banner in black with white writing that just says with love. Now, I'm going to utilise this one. Now, I could stamp onto a piece of white cardstock with black ink, but I'm not going to because I'm trying to use all the resources from the CD and not introduce too much, so you know you can create exactly the same thing without having to buy anything extra. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mount all these up. So I'm going to mat and layer these 3 layers together, and then I'm going to place these onto the card, and then we'll look at the sentiment that's going to go along the bottom here. So I will be back when I've mounted all these up. Okay, so I've laid up my topper. I'm going to use this. This is a Signo Uniball rollerball pen, but it's in white. And the beauty about this pen is that it's opaque, which means that if you write on black or any dark surface, particularly black card or deep blue or anything like that, this stays white. So it is white and it is opaque, and we have these in the shop and on the website at the moment. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm actually going to add some little doodle stitch lines all the way around the black border. Just adding them. Of course, if you wanted to, you could do a bit of tangling, you could do a little bit of doodling. You could also, if you wanted to, get a black pen and do a faux stitch around the inside of your topper too. But this is why I deliberately left a bit of a wide black border all the way around this card, because I knew I wanted to add in this kind of faux stitching because it was just crying out for it. I mean, if you're also really good on a sewing machine, you could theoretically stitch this if you wanted to with white cotton, when that would have exactly the same kind of effect. But I quite like the hand embellished, because it's a handmade card, so you can get away with it. And just go all the way down like so. And that's just going to add a little bit of extra depth and dimension to that card. So as I said before, you could, if you wanted to, use a black pen and go all the way around the outside, adding in, I'll just grab some white and add in some black stitching too, but I think that would take away from what you've actually done. I think it would be too much, but it's entirely down to you. Okay, so I'm now going to stick this down with foam pads onto my card blank, which I'll bring back in there. So I'm going to just stick that down, and then we're going to bring in that sentiment that I'd already pre-cut out. Now, as you see, it was the black one with the white writing. Now I've left a little bit of a white border all the way around when I cut it out of the sheet, and all I've done is just popped it up on some foam pads, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to stick it down there. So that's what we're going to do now. So I shall just go and remove the foam pads from this, and then we can stick it back down. Cut. Okay, so I've stuck down my topper. I'm going to take my sentiment, and again I've just popped that up on a few foam pads. So I'll just grab those, and then I'm going to try and line that up with the bottom, make sure it is equal and not on the wonk. That looks okay to me. And now I'm going to grab some white pearls from my stash. Come on. Don't stick to my non-stick mat. And then I'm just going to add 3 pearls here. Just kind of got away from me nearly. Sometimes I swear these are alive. So 3 white ones, just there. And I'm also going to put 3 black ones just there. Or I was going to. Now just grab a pickup tool. I'm fiddling, because that sometimes happens. The adhesive comes off the back. That's better. So top, drop down, and the last one. Like so. And that's it. I don't think that card needs anything else. Just a little bit classy. Less is more, as they say. So, using the resources from the Bygone Transport CD, I've printed off a selection of some of the map backing papers. So you can see here these vintage maps that are on the CD, and I've cut one down to fit onto an A6 style card. So this one's going to be a side opening, but it's going to be A6. And the reason I've done this is because I wanted to use up a tag that was on one of the kits on the CD. As you can see, it's one of the kits that I've printed off. Each one has a tag, and I didn't use that up when I created the card, the main card, so this was left over, and rather than throw it away, or I wanted to just use up a bit of the scraps, I thought it would be quite useful to make a small card, just a quick birthday card, using some of the elements that I discarded from one of those kits that I didn't use. So I've got 3 of the faux screw heads that I didn't use on a previous card there, and one of the sentiments, because we used the retirement sentiment, the birthday one was left over, so I'm going to use the birthday one. Now, I don't want to use the tag in its entirety because I think it takes up too much room on the front of the card. It is quite a large topper for that size card, and it is A6. So A6 measure, it's about postcard size. So it's about 10.5 centimetres by about almost 15. It's about 14.8 centimetres. Almost 4x6, but not quite. So it's around about postcard size. It's what the Americans call an A2. So, or thereabouts, because their size is slightly different to ours. They work on an 8.5 by 11 sheet, not an A4 sheet, but there you go. That's by the by. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a card just off the cuff, just using what resources I've got here to hand, which isn't a lot. I've got a little bit of black card, I've got a bit of spare black that I've already doodled a spider on, and just what resources I've got. So I've got my I've got some gathered twigs, distress ink, which will be fine for going round, and I'm going to cut this out. So I'm just going to cut that out as a square, and I'm going to mount that square onto the black card there, and then we're going to mount that and then mat and layer those on and add a few embellishments. And I think I have got some black ribbon somewhere, but like I said, I'm not going to use the tag, but I want to try and put something in there. And I may even have some pearls or gems kicking about, but let's just get it all cut out and then we'll have a play. Okay, so we've got all our bits, we're ready to rock and roll. So I'm going to take the backing paper first of all, and I'm going to just grab the distressing, load up and just go around the edges. We're just going to take off that white edge, give it a bit of grunge, just give it a little bit of darkness, a little bit of aging, a little bit of antiquing, just around the edges. Now I have already padded up so that I don't have to waste any time when we put the card together. So I'm just going to add some dark edges around that, and it just helps to blend the paper into the background. And on the main topper I'm just going to go around and again just to add a little bit of darkness, a little bit of antiquing and weathering. If you're not a vintage fan but like the car image, then you don't have to do all this. You can just leave it as white and pristine if you want to. But I'm just going to take a little bit of that colour and just add it a little around the edges. It just helps to tie it all in together. If you've got a little variation in colour, it just helps to bring everything together. Now I've got my ribbon as well, so I'm just going to run a little bit of that dark over our little fishtail banner, and we have our 3 little faux screw heads. So I'm just going to add a little bit of colour to those 2, and then I think we're ready to go. I think we're ready to put the card all together. There's not much preparation really for this. I mean, I am using scraps and leftovers from a previous card, so you know, you can pretty much just get everything ready, plan it all out, and then just put it together at your leisure. I think we're done with that. Okay, so my plan was to layer, let's just move all that out of the way. So my plan was just to layer my topper, once I'd cut it out of the tag, onto the black to have that little bit of a black border. Now, like I said, I have raised it up on foam pads, and I've also raised that up on foam pads, so it is going to be quite dimensional, but not too dimensional so as that it makes it mega expensive to post, because you're only going to put 2 or 3 layers on. But it is foam, so it does squash, and if as long as you put your foam pads, you know, in the right positions, everything should be okay. You won't get any divots or any creases in your toppers. That's why I always place one at the 4 corners and one in the middle. That way it's always protected. Okay, so I've just laid that on top of there. I'm happy with the border all the way around, so I'm just going to press down where those foam pads are. Okay, so we've now got the foam pads on the back, but we're not ready to quite do that yet. So we're going to take our backing paper. Now I've put some double-sided tape on the back of my ribbon already. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to lay this down, and I'm going to run it so that it comes across the card, around the back, and between the rows of foam pads that you can see, just like that. So that's what I'm going to do. So what I need to do is just take the back off the tape. Now I probably need to do this with a pokey tool or a pickup tool just to separate the paper from the adhesive. Sometimes it can be a little bit fiddly. Okay, so I'm going to try and lay it out one piece at a time, and then I can lay that down onto the card. Let's move it into the middle so you can see better. So lay that down so that it's between the foam pads, and then flick it over, stick it down, flick it over and stick it down. That's number 1. Turn it around and do exactly the same thing again. Line it up so it's between the foam pads. Push. I find it a lot easier to do it that way when I'm using a heavyish kind of ribbon. Lovely stuff. That's not going to go anywhere. Okay, so we can peel our foam pads off now, because we can now stick that down onto our card base. Okay, so just lay it down, a couple of millimetres gap all the way around. Like so. And then we can now add our main topper. I think even if you are using up scraps and just leftover bits to try and make a card, I think as long as you try and unify everything that you're doing, like by adding the distressing and that kind of thing, then I think it will all tie together. That's kind of cute, isn't it? And then we've got our sentiment. I'm just going to layer that into the middle of that. I'm just going to stick that down on the one. Actually, it's going to be quite high up. Might not even fit. Yeah, I think we might have to just add an extra layer on that one. Put it on like that. It's like a nice little stamp. And then we just have our little sentiments here. Now all I'm going to do is just add on a little, is that going to be the same size? It is going to be the same size. I should have done that because I have done it before. Just laid. And I'm just going to put a little bit of double-sided tape on the bottom there. And then foam pad that. And then I'm just going to tuck that under a little. And then push that down. That gives it a little bit of a curl then. And we'll hold it in place. And then we just have our 3 faux screws. So I'm just going to add a little bit of dimension to those just by running them around the palm of my hand with my embossing tool. It's just a ball tool, and all I'm doing is just curving to give them a bit of a dome. So just in a circle all the way around, just stretches the fibres and turns it into a bit of a cup shape, which is what you want, because that will then hide your foam pad. I'll just give that a swizzle around. Perfect. Just need to grab some very, very tiny foam pads now. And what I'll do is I'll add 3 of those just along the bottom. So 1 in the corner, give it a push. Because I've added a little bit of distressing on these, it may take a little while for them to actually stick down permanently, because the distressing does take a little while to dry with it being water based. So sometimes the pads come back off again when you try and take the tops off. Not often, but it does happen. Okay, I'll grab my pickup tool. I just need revitalising again. All fingers and thumbs, here we go. Up, and then just drop that over. And it doesn't matter whether you get the screw heads all facing the same direction, it all depends on how OCD you are. For me, I prefer it if they're not all facing the same way. It just looks more realistic. There you go. Done. One quite effective, quite simple, vintage styled birthday card. If you wanted to add an insert into that, you can just add a white panel in there for writing on if you want to, or you could write with a black pen, white pen on a black background. There you go. A really nice, cute little card made just out of leftovers and a few scraps. Well, I hope you enjoyed watching me make those cards. I certainly enjoyed making them with the resources on this CD. Cars and vintage is an absolute favourite of mine, and I hope they're a favourite for you too. Now, if you'd like to see what's on the CD in a bit more depth, I'm going to pop a link just here in the top corner of your screen. So if you click that, that will take you to a video walkthrough of the entire content of the CD, so you can make a determination as to whether or not you think this CD is right for you. And if, like me, and you want to see all these samples that our DT have created in a bit more detail, rather than just tiny on your screen as they are at the moment, then in the description area below of this video on YouTube, you will see a link that will take you to our website's gallery, where you can have a look at all these lovely, beautiful samples that our DT have made in a lot more detail. So that's it for me for now. Hope you've enjoyed that. If you have enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up. Now, this will not only tell YouTube that you want to see more videos from us, but also YouTube recommend our channel and these videos to other people who may not know about us. So clicking that thumbs up button really does help us in the long run spread the word about Kraftyhands. And also, if you'd like to be informed of future videos in your email, so every time we upload a video, you'll get an email to let you know that there is a new one, then all you have to do is to click that subscribe button at the end of the video. Well, that's all from me for now. I hope you've enjoyed watching, because I certainly enjoyed putting those cards together for you, and I will see you again real soon. Bye for now.